Thank you very much, and thanks for joining us today at the library board meeting. I'd like us to go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Sharon Fitzsimmons, board president.
John Johnston, Vice President.
Judith Gwynn, Treasurer.
Ramona Wall.
Chuck Stein. Bob Donaldson.
And can we also get library staff to introduce themselves as well? I know that's a new request, but we see you every week, every month, and we might not know your names.
Hi, everybody. You're hearing me. You're not seeing me. I'm Tim. I'm the IT guy who sets you up every week.
Thank you, Tim.
We have the sound off on the handhelds. Can somebody go around and turn it on? I think I forgot to turn it on. Yeah, it's the big one. Just flip the power on switch.
And I am Michael Blackwell, Director at St. Mary's County Library.
Perfect. Do we want to do a sound check on the handhelds? All right, while we're working on that, I think we heard in the room, and we'll come back around when the microphones are working. Let's talk about approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. All right. And then next, approval of the January minute. Can I get a motion to approve the January minute?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Michael, you have celebrations for us?
I do have two celebrations today. First of all, congratulations to Emma Carroll, who finished the Library Associate Training Institute, which is a crash course in how to be a librarian. What are our values? What are our policies and procedures? And congratulations for that. And then I also have for Annie Cross a hip hip hooray. Annie, if you could come on up, please. Oh, okay. Between my hand and your foot, we are. Why don't you have a seat? I can at least walk. We're establishing great customer and leadership skills and handling communication with management and customers on a Saturday when the meeting room at Charlotte Hall was experiencing cold temperatures, cold as in we're going to close this place any second now. Annie called building services to place the work order in immediately and maintain a calm composure while handling the situation. We thank you for outstanding service. Thank you, Annie. Do you want to say anything? And we'll hear much more about Charlotte Hall very soon.
Great. I believe we don't have a treasurer's report this month. Okay, so then we will move on to Smyrla.
No, we're meeting next week. I'll be on vacation that day, so I don't expect to be attending. But I'll keep the board updated.
Perfect. Thank you. And do you have any tasks for the board with respect to Smyrla that you'd like us to do for this next month?
I don't believe so, other than, I mean, we might find out at the meeting whether there would be any applicants for the second community member position.
Fantastic. All right.
I had a meeting with Smyrla this morning, and I'll update you on that after Gary presents.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And do we have the handheld mics now? We can go around and make sure people online get to know who's
Tim.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hi, Amy Ford. I'm the branch manager at Lexington Park Library.
Hi, Brittany Cornish, the branch manager at the Charlotte Hall Library.
Mary Ann Bowman, deputy director.
Belinda Lloyd, HR and finance coordinator.
Sophie Miller, admin assistant.
Thank you very much. Let's move to the director's reports.
And first up will be Gary. Could we give Gary a handheld there?
Thank you. It's my privilege to address the board this afternoon. I'm Gary Whipple. I'm the Deputy Director Department of Public Works and Transportation. I'm in charge of the facility capital project program. And a bit of my background, I've been with the county since 2001. I had the privilege of building the Lexington Park Library at the time. It was one of the first major project that was not really illuminating in terms of how county work, but what it is a library and what the library was a lot of fun. So that's a privilege. And more recently, Black and I built a facility and we sit today. And that was another learning experience. I learned to organize Black Village and have he has a good strategy on. Oh, was it off? Okay, I'm sorry. Cut it in and out. Okay, well, I'll keep my remarks then. But work we worked to identify grant funds through the design process. Tremendously. I believe we received more grant funds than actually applied for, which was a very large part of the micro-organization of the architect. So now we're ready to do the trifecta. We're looking to complete the complete path. Been working with Michael for well over a year now in getting the capital project established, getting the scope of work drawn for the architect, getting on the street, getting it ordered. And this morning we had a contract being kickoff meeting with the architect that'll be doing the work and the consultant. We also progress meeting discuss the next steps and goals that we have. And just as a refresher for what we're doing up at Charlotte Hall, it's essentially a renovation of existing space. We're going to consolidate step areas into common care, make it a little more efficient. We'll be also repairing building below shoots, masonry, windows, create for open space in the main area. Sure. Want me to rewind? Okay.
There.
Well, I don't want to take more time than necessary. I will be what we're doing at the library though. Consolidate staff space, more efficient workspace, build envelope repairs, open space in the collections and for lab to meeting room, and of course finishes to repair the finish, the finishes we have in place. The schedule that worked out with the architect this morning, we'll be able to get their first set of drawings and a preliminary process to by the end of April, which is going to be in line with our looking to submit the grant application in the middle of May. So we already have milestones for work to meet. After we were discussing the scope of work, the architect more indicated they've already down some thoughts on paper, and they've already have ideas on the layout would be, how the layout should look, and we'll be sharing that with everyone of the develops. We're also next week we'll be meeting with representatives from the architect, building services division up the library, do their site visit. We'll walk through and get familiar with the spaces themselves. So that'll be on either Wednesday or Thursday. We haven't filled that down with the consultant, but they definitely want to get a rough start with this. So the architect is the new architect, and there's the consultant is, I think, libraries. A library specialist has done a lot of good work in the region. So looking forward to it. The track completion date is the end of December. We'll have full time and bid documents. So for getting our preliminary design in for grant review this spring, and then we'll monitor the grant application as it moves through the process into the governor's budget next January, hopefully. So that's a summary of where we're at. If anybody has any questions, I feel posed.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Start us out. You said that the architect is doing site visit next week. Does the architect also plan that to talk to library staff?
Yeah, yes. In fact, yes, we would include the staff at that. also with our maintenance folks. So those are two key elements in that's perspective.
They're submitting several documents to us at the library to get information from us. So they'll be knowing about the size of the collection, about the circulation numbers, about sort of programming needs. So they're going to be fully informed by staff about it.
Does the plan include the shared space with Merle, or how is that moving?
Well, the entryway certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Is Merle managing their own improvements?
I give you
Sounds good.
So
can give you enough.
we'll update on that. We'll leave some flexibility in what we're doing. I think that's what I can say at this point. The scope that we have is the scope we started with when we got the CIP sheet approved, basically improvements, alterations, repairs to the camp portion of the building.
Site add square footage.
There is room. The question besides room, though, it's the additional pervious area. So whenever you add impervious area, you also have to do treatments. So that's a little bit under what we're at right now.
This honor is already on that site.
It's adequate for the building that we have. If we don't add parking, if all we're doing is looking at an expansion of the building itself, then slightly what happens is the existing facility can be modified to treat at an additional area, but that would be a time detailed work if we move the route. Yeah. Okay. So when we have design submissions, we'll review them with library staff, and then for as we get closer to the schematic phase, we'll seek input from board and from the public, similar to what we did on the building.
So do you have, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, your project now is the renovate the existing space.
Right.
And not change distribution.
Yep, correct.
Is that correct?
That's
Was the decision by the commissioners?
yeah. When the project was when project was Steve was in 26 or 24. It was strictly for our side of the building.
So my question, I think, is based on the fact that we're told that sharing space with Merle would help grant acquisition because they would be potentially applying for grants that would apply to both of us. But it sounds like that's no longer the case.
No, I'm gonna,
Do it.
yeah. I won't look at it turn on that because and we know that we share the entryway and that there needs to be flexible in that space. So it's real all I can comment on right now is the lobby.
Okay.
Hmm?
And what are some decision points or things that are coming up the board would to approve sign off in the process?
We
We
would present the final plan to you.
Yeah.
Approval, but and build and also certainly give you an update every month. And we think you didn't have email from me, gonna be thing or
right.
so you can full applies of the progress here. You'll but to look at the final.
Oh, so will be end of December. We'll vote on that, or probably yeah.
You probably in April because grant possibly early May grant application is May 22nd.
So we'll be voting on grant application based on the design.
Yes.
Okay.
To do yes, but I need more detail on this.
Absolutely. Make sure I know what responsibilities are. And the last thing I think might actually for you, Michael. The law requires that when we submit that grant request, we also have a facilities master plan, and I know we have one. Bill didn't specify when it needs to be updated, and it looks like ours is
Ours is
really-
good.
Okay.
And so this morning I met with Miller State Library and actually the director of Smyrna and Meg Fox, who is in charge of the capital grant program. So one thing I just want to read to you regarding working with Smyrna and
Michael, can I pause you just a second?
Yeah.
Is there anything else questions for Mr. Whipple?
That, if it's not in the plan, how and when could we address that?
So we don't have site improvements in the scope at this time? Yeah, we're not adding, I mean, we're not really adding requirements inside the building that's driving.
You have to
Park-
go to the commissioners at some point and say, hey, guys, we need better parking over here. It's not sufficient. It would take a whole nother.
Yeah,
I don't know if it comes in the CIP, parking lot.
if that's a need, that would have to be identified.
the commissioners.
Mhm.
And there used to be, of course, the Amish market there, and the Amish market is no longer there. So a study done some years ago said you probably can't do anything with parking, but with the Amish market no longer there, I think it's possible to expand parking, but it's going to be a different conversation.
And not part of this contract or not part of this plan at all.
I think we'd like all the money possible to go into the building at this point.
Right. I think site improvements could be a follow-on phase.
I mean, probably time for a heads up on that because you'd hope that there's going to be increased traffic and increased use with the library after the renovation. So therefore it's going to impact parking even more than it is now. So I think it might be time for a heads up with the commissioners on.
I just
we
wondered if
start
the
thinking-
architect ought to have that in the back of his mind as they're doing the designs. That he may want to expand the parking.
Possibly.
I mean, is that part of a wish list that the architect has, or?
Well, it sounds like the architect's work is going to be scoped internal only with the facade work also, but that isn't going to change the footprint and therefore shouldn't really influence the outside, I wouldn't think, the parking lot.
In a general sense, that's correct. Mhm.
When this building was in development, did we have like not just community meetings, but did we also reach out to HOAs and other groups? And I was thinking like for this branch or Charlotte Hall branch, we might reach out to like Golden Beach, Patuxent Knolls, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm not
We
familiar.
make a
with
public
FAR.
announcement
Yeah.
for the forums. And I don't know that we specifically invite HOAs or anything. It's just sort of more like we put an announcement in the local media, and then also anybody who's got a library card gets an invite.
And projects are always briefed at the capital improvement budget hearings with the commissioners. And of course, public forums are always open for input. So.
And I would like to invite all the board members to come up and get a tour and chat with me about kind of what you would want to see and kind of what staff is hoping for. Because I know not everybody comes up that way all the time, but I feel like if you all are putting input on this renovation, then it would be a good look to staff if you all came through and interacted with them, chatted with them. And I'm more than happy to meet with you and give you a tour of our branch and share some of my ideas as well.
Not so coincidentally, the meeting next month is at Charlotte Hall. This meeting, the trustee meeting.
Could we put that into the agenda to
We'll build it in.
make it part of
Yeah.
the report?
Any more questions for Gary? Thank you so much for.
Well, thank you for the
appreciate it.
opportunity
This
to brief on the
really
project.
exciting project we've got going here.
Right.
So let's talk about working with Smyrla. The Maryland Attorney General, and I'm getting this from our state librarian, did review the documents, the various documents between the library, the county, and Smyrla. And The AG established that the state maintains a significant stake in the current and future use of the building, and that determining any transfer to the county must involve the state, hence the need to go to BPW, Bureau of Public Works, to be involved if it goes that route. So this is not just going to be the library or Smyrla or the county in Smyrla. It will involve the state. Just as a reminder, when that building was constructed, over 2 million came from the state and about 500,000 from the county. So they're there. So we're talking this morning about when could we work jointly? They have access to a different capital fund than the public library does. However, the deadlines are different. And to get in fiscal year 28, they would have already had to have submitted. The earliest they could go on a joint project with the library looks like it's going to be fiscal year 30. So 2 years after our project is planned. They are willing to go that way, but obviously that has significant ramifications on when this project happens. The county is pushing for, this fiscal year 28. I think it's your decision if you wish to opt to work with Smyrla. Possibly what could happen later and what kind of happened in Washington County is that there were need for both. But in fact, the state put up most of the money for a very lovely library there. 10 million came from the state. So if you want to work with them, I think you're looking down the road. This morning, we did meet with the architect, and I'm very excited about the process. We will be applying, and we've already turned in a notice of grant interest for $3 million. Now, for fiscal year 28, I'm told the base fund for this is 7.5 million. They've already got about $28 million in requests. So it's going to be a very competitive process. But I think that we can get at least 2, but we're going to ask for 3. I think that the project will call for it. One request we made of the architect this morning is look at that courtyard area. And even if you don't build that in as finished, what would it take to include that? And I think in order to get that money, we need to have some sort of expansion. So I do think that ultimately what we're going to be asking for will include that front area, which would allow a much better way to integrate the staff in what is currently the library, and that could become the lobby. But obviously the architect needs to weigh in on all of this. So that's kind of where we are working with them. And again, it's kind of bigger than just us.
Saying you're estimating the total cost to be 7 million.
And
I said that's
I need,
that's a ballpark.
I need to have the architect tell me this morning. They kind of ballparked a figure, but really they're going to have to look at it and say, here's exactly, what's this front going to be? Is it going to be a glass front, which would be lovely? If so, what's the cost? How high is that going to be? All these details, are they going to have to take down anything that's existing? So it could be that it would require 8 million to do it. And in that case, we're just going to say, here we are. And if we don't get all that grant money, then that will impinge upon what we're able to do. So with this building, for example, it was scheduled to be 30,000 square feet, and it's about 27. We had to value engineer as the process went on. And they cut a swath about 12 feet wide, the whole length of the building, including this meeting room. So this is supposed to be a bigger meeting space than it is now. You just have to be, realistic about what you can do with the money you've got.
So how do you come up with the grant? This is the grant application to the state. Is it the state federal library? How do you come up with a $3 million request? Is there some formula there? Why don't we ask for the whole 7 million? I mean, how do you determine what you're going to ask for?
Well, I've sat on the grant committee 5 times, so it gives away the money. I have a pretty good idea of how it works. That was my thought on what it would take to do an expansion. And the more likely you are to talk about making it a bigger facility, the more likely you are to get money. Because if you're simply going to say, okay, we're going to, for one thing, you can't do a grant from the state based on paint and carpet. It's got to have construction done to be eligible for a capital grant. You have to knock something down, if nothing else, and put something up. The more likely you are to say, all right, here's our need. Charlotte Hall has grown immensely. And the number of cardholders we have there is increasing. And we can also document people coming across Charles County line to use our facility. If we're going to really have a legitimate shot at getting a lot of money for this, we need to talk about the need to expand that facility.
You're talking about that front space.
Yeah. So I think that it would also, as I say, if we're able to do that kind of thing, what is currently the lobby, we would open the bathroom outside instead. And what is currently the lobby could become a unified staff area, and we'd still have that wonderful meeting room. So I think that, if we can do that, it really opens up a lot of possibilities, but the architect is going to have to be the one who comes in and tells Michael, sorry, you're dreaming too big here.
Does that align with what Mr. Whipple just told us about the scope of the work?
Right now,
repair
the work is
external?
going to be existing spaces, but I hope if we get the grant, so the ideas are, all right, we get the grant, that means we can,
I see. So
because the
the
architect
county
is,
is paying for what you described and has
Install.
without event
yeah,
or without a grant.
yeah.
So
So
the
the
grant would
architect is
allow
actually
for
hired
addition.
through December.
Mhm.
It's not going to end at that. So if we get X dollars in grants, they'll be able to say, okay, now we know exactly what we've got. Here's the scope of work expanded. So I'm hopeful. There's a lot of competition for this. When we applied for Leonardtown, we got the most of anybody who got anything that year. We beat out Baltimore County. We beat out Baltimore. Our grant application was used for 2 years of an example how to do it right. We're going to get something really good in there. And, I think the more it looks likely that finishing this as a great project is going to require more money, the more likely we are to get some.
So then can I ask, it sounds like we have two possible paths, that we have what the county has already agreed to, which is the renovation and the external repair. We have a second possible path if we get the grant where we could do additional expansion. And then I guess I have two questions. The first is, what would be the county's involvement if we got the grant for approval of the additional expansion of work? Like, what's the county's responsibility in that, and how does that fall into the timeline?
The grant would have a local share, there'd be a local match in that, so the county would have to match the grant funds.
And then approve it, it goes through the commissioners for approval?
You're already matching at 5 million. You would already have the match.
Right, but does the county then have to approve the revised plan?
Yes,
Okay,
but
that's
but
what I figured.
the architect is hired through December, so they could do that. And I don't think it will be a problem for our county commissioners to approve, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
When do we
Okay.
expect to hear whether or not we've gotten state money?
We will have a preliminary idea in October, and Gary knows more about that than I do, about how the state money starts to appear. But here's the process. We, if approved, would get into the fiscal year 28 budget. It would be approved January of next year to start July of 28. And we won't know for sure until absolutely for sure until about a year from now. But typically what's happened, so this year, for example, we gave away $7.5 million, and we're asking for much, much more from the state to support libraries. I believe it's in the 20 million. We're saying, hey, I know the 7.5 is there, but could you do this too for fiscal year 27. So once it goes to the state, our share of the 7.5 million is almost guaranteed. That's the state is very generous to libraries for capital projects.
So if we get a state grant and we're looking at expanding that library, how does that affect Smyrla?
It does not.
So we're only expanding half of it.
We're not including any spaces for Smyrla. So right now Smyrla is doing their facility study. That will not be done until June. And so until their facility study is June, they don't wish to comment on any possible shared spaces or anything impinging upon their facility. And we can't really do that. And here's why. We have by May 22nd to turn in our grant application. The budget department looks at these applications as part of the process. And if we're submitting something that says, well, maybe Smyrla, maybe not, they're going to say no. Is what we were discussing this morning. So really, we need to submit it based on something other than shared space with Smyrla.
So then is the architect planning to include the risk assessment of not modifying half of the building, including shared things like water and HVAC?
Well, the question came up this morning of would we be closing the facility? And my hope is that we could establish something for example, the meeting room that would not have to be touched. We could have pick up there. We could have maybe a couple of workstations. And Smyrla is not really going to be affected by that.
Right. That wasn't the question I asked.
Mhm.
Is the architect accounting for and putting in part of the plan, including the risks of not modifying Smyrla spaces that would include shared things like water and HVAC and electricity,
and
Ethernet,
cabling, and Ethernet.
all of that?
How do you do half a building? Maybe a question for Gary and not the other half.
So they'll do their studies. I mean, they'll do a power study for the portion we have, and that'll run all the way back to the main distribution. For the heat loads, if we're changing heat loads, I mean, they'll do all the calculations for the mechanical equipment. And it'll be what needs to be put in place for the program that they're designing for us. Now, we're not having them run models per se on what would happen if we incorporated more work that was done if we were going to be looking at Smyrla. So we're not really doing any option analysis of that. We're just looking at what we have to do to upgrade the service for the renovations that we're doing.
And there is incidentally an HVA system upgrade happening this year. So that should be taken care of and not part of the project.
Okay.
What they may have to do would be, once that is in place, is look at possible ductwork or something, but as part of this project.
So the ductwork will be done immediately because clearly Charlotte Hall needs to not freeze.
Yes.
And so then what I think I hear you saying is right now the architect is not returning any risk assessment of existing system, and because it's not the current plan to just renovate internal does not touch any of that infrastructure. Okay. But then if we do end up getting the grant, we will potentially touch that infrastructure that is shared with Smyrla spaces, and that needs to be considered.
We would not be behind the area that is all Smyrla. We might be in the shared space in the lobby.
The impact to infrastructure, I think, is on the whole building. Things like the heat loads and things like that.
I don't know that I feel qualified enough to give you a definitive answer to that question, frankly.
That would be
That's
this week. Since we're not adding space, we're not in theory adding much load. We're just redistributing and redistributing loads that we already have.
Right, but with the grant, we would be adding space. And that would need to then be considered.
So if you're asking, would we have to reevaluate the allocation? Is that the question, or is it?
The question is, in the case of the grant where the building expands,
Yeah.
there are risks because we're only expanding the whole building expands, but the part of the infrastructure that is Smyrla's won't be touched.
That is correct.
So that is a risk because you're combining new construction with old.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I'd
yeah,
want to make
and-
sure the architect
yeah.
accounts for.
And that would have to be planned for as part of that process. And with any luck, we have some idea in October about the money, and the architect could do that.
Okay.
We anticipate the new HVAC to be a lot more efficient than the current system.
Right, we're also looking at energy efficiency, and I think maybe to answer the question is that in their study, they'll tell us what the existing service is. I mean, what's the main distribution panel, how many amps, they'll let us know that. So we'll have some of that basic information.
I'm trying to get the calendar straight here. So the architect now is working on a plan
Mhm.
which leaves Smyrla alone
Hmm.
and doesn't include any expansion of the building.
That is correct.
You're going to apply for a grant,
Yes.
which is going to allow us to expand the space.
Depending on cost and how much we get, but that is the hope.
Okay, so that's one incident. When does that happen? When do we know we got that money?
We know for sure in May next year.
Okay. In the meantime, Smyrla is busy figuring out what they need, and they're going to show up in June with a plan that says, here's what we need. And they're going to do that independent of us. And,
Yeah,
and the architect doesn't have to pay any attention to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unless we want to take what they're doing and combine it with the grant that you have to in fact expand the whole building.
All they will have is a facility study. They will not have had an architect do plans for them. And they will not have money. And if we wish to work with them jointly, we'd have to wait till fiscal year 30.
But otherwise, we'd have to wait and rework anyway if they do end up deciding they want to make changes.
Come fiscal year 30, they could apply for money from their fund. Frankly, I don't think they need more space, is what their facility study will probably tell them, but that's what they're doing their facility study for. But if we want a joint project, if we want to say, okay, we're going to get money, you're going to get money, and we're all going to work on this together, which would not be a bad idea, but it would delay this project.
What are the drawbacks of delaying the project to work with Smyrla more closely, especially now that we know that we're going to continue sharing the building because the complexities of moving out are too high. So what are the drawbacks of waiting?
Well, I will ask Brittany to weigh in on this as well. And Mary Ann, what I'll say is that it really needs work.
Understood.
But the big advantage is if we can both come up with some money, a far more likely expansion, including, I'm not saying the amount of money Smyrla can get is unlimited, but it's, I think, larger than the pool we can draw on. Think possibly second story. So there would be advantages. The disadvantage of that is we simply don't know if they're going to be able to get the money.
So if they didn't, it would delay us another year.
We'd delayed 2 years.
So why? So that's what I'm having trouble with. Why can't we just proceed as if there's not going to be any joint effort?
We are.
We're going to have this project. It's going to get done. And in the middle of it, along comes Smyrla that says, by the way, we have some money we'd like to throw in the pot. And you come along and say, I have some more money I'd like to throw in the pot. And so there's a phase 2 of the project, which is to expand the facility and to solve Merla's problem and also to give us more space. And that doesn't delay anything. In the meantime, your
disadvantage.
project is going on.
Yeah. So we would be done with our project at the end of fiscal year 28. And Smyrla cannot get money until the start of fiscal year 30. So
So it'd be a whole new project.
yes.
Can I check? You asked
Yeah,
if
please
Brittany
go
had
ahead. Yeah.
thoughts. I'd love to hear them.
It's fine.
Oh.
It's been covered.
Did I miss something? Did Smyrla say they have no intention of moving?
So that was the part at the very beginning of the discussion
Yeah.
is that Smyrla, we checked with the state and
Yeah.
it would include state involvement
Yeah.
and additional complexity of Smyrla.
Right, but that
So
was that was the point of the facilities requirement.
is their facility
Was that
plan
we're gonna-
considering a move out? Or
I
is
think
it
they were
only
gonna
looking
determine
at-
first what they needed,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
get the
this-
requirements.
Yeah, it's a lot more basic than that. Just,
Okay.
And then look if it was possible, but they can't even look to move until they have their requirements analysis finished. So,
And they're not going to
Marianne.
have money until fiscal year 30. So they're going to be there that long.
Go ahead, Marianne.
I was just going to say that the biggest disadvantage is the county has the money right now. And we don't really want to wait to see in 3 years if the county's willing to give us money again. So there are definitely things in that building that need to be addressed. The bathrooms are not accessible. And we have an employee in a wheelchair and she can verify they are not accessible. So there are certain things in that building that have to be fixed. And basically that's what this money is doing, is fixing the things that need to be fixed.
And the architect, in fact, pointed out this morning that the ADA is a major source for getting grant money. And we will be playing up that in our application.
And Chuck, to your point of waiting and doing this project and then adding on to it later is that we won't have money again. So we
Right.
can't add to Smyrla. So if Smyrla does something in FY 30, it's for Smyrla because we won't have any money to add to our.
Well,
We would have
not,
grant
No,
money.
not if we do this
that'll be,
project. Not if we do this project first.
yeah, that'll be extended by the end of fiscal year 28. Now, to address a point that Belinda just made, and I don't mind this conversation going a long time because it's so important. When Washington County did their main library, and I should have brought photos of it for you. It's, I believe, 3 stories. It's really impressive. Most of the money went to the public library, even though the regional was in it. So it is not impossible if Smyrla says we're going to stay and they get a lot of money for that to in part go to the library side. It's not impossible as long as we've got joint tenancy.
But if we're already done with our build, then that doesn't help us.
It could. How much money is Smyrla going to be able to bring? We simply don't know these things. But
Right.
yeah,
But if we've already got our plan set,
yeah.
then that's too late.
But what I'm saying is that for the Washington project, yes, it was all one piece, but they did so much more for the library than they did for the regional. So I don't know if it would be impossible for us to take advantage of Smyrla as a phase 2.
They might be able to get money for upgrades that we couldn't afford now. Might be able to expand the parking lot with that money. I mean,
And it is also not unknown to apply for multiple years for a library, as in fact we did for Leonardtown. We got money 2 years, and most recently in Calvert County, they had 3 million 1 year and 2 million the next year for their Twin Beaches branch. So it's not impossible that later on, as let's say Smyrla is we're going to do this, we can say, okay, well, let's see if we can get $1 million for you.
Yeah. And I would say some other disadvantages on waiting. And I can show you all when you come up there. I have 6 staff members in a office that is like a third of this room. And those are our customer service staff. We also do like our interlibrary loan delivery in that room. So space is really tight. I share an office with my other 2 branch managers and love them to pieces. But yes, there's 3 branch managers and an office right now. which is sometimes inconvenient when we each have our individual team meetings. We have to move around. We have to book the telehealth booth, which in turn takes away that room for customers. Yes, Office C, the temperature in there is fun. Our lobby has been reading 57 degrees this winter, which is unacceptable as we are supposed to be a warming center. So with that HVAC work and redoing the lobby, and I want people to come to our branch. I know we are the oldest and the smallest branch at this point. And I would like for our visitor numbers and our circulation numbers to get up there with Leon and Lexi. There's only so many chairs from Amazon I can buy and try to make the branch look as nice as I can right now with what we have. And I think that if we also waited and not know what Smyrla may or may not give us, that would be a real morale dump on my staff, and I do not want that. They're really looking forward to it. They understand that we are only able to probably work with the library space that we have, and they've come up with great ideas and alternates. But I think that we have staff who have been with the library system for a while and want what's best for the library. And I think for us to be continuing on the up and up as a library system, Charlotte Hall needs a major overhaul.
So is the county open to a two-phased upgrade if Smyrla does get a grant,
I,
since that's a county building?
so I can't say how they would object
Okay,
or approve. I mean, phased projects we've done several places. We've done it at the detention center. We've done it with sheriff's projects. So it makes, if the phasing makes sense, and it's funded.
okay.
So for now, we're going to do our absolute best to make the existing space 21st century. I'm particularly hopeful, following on what Brittany told you, to try to integrate the staff. They're in 3 separate spaces. And we don't think that that's ideal for employee morale. If you go back here, everybody's together. The librarians, the library associates, everybody's talking, they're sharing. There, it's all divided up. And so we'd really like to have a better facility for the managers, but also for the staff in general, just to be all together. So we've got a lot of ambition and hope pinned on this project. And, it's too bad that 3 years ago, we didn't go to Smyrla and say, hey, let's all upgrade. It would have been a good idea, but we had no idea because Smyrla always said we don't want to leave. So, and, we didn't know what kind of expansion they need. We're all working on it now. And I think that the possibility for future cooperation is still there.
I think it'd be interesting to have a conversation with Smyrla. I know you're not going to be at the next meeting, John, about that large conference training room they have in the front, and rethinking that whole space.
Yeah.
I know she's for training, been there myself. And I think the concept is go to the trainer. What about the idea of the trainer goes out? Every library in 3 counties has meeting and conference rooms. And if they could live without that space, because now they go out for their training.
I had that conversation
and-
this
Hold on.
morning.
Yeah.
Point of order. Let's
Yeah.
let Judith
And they
finish.
additionally have they also have a separate boardroom. Is that where you meet, in the boardroom or the training room?
They have a small meeting room, and it's
So I don't know if these conversations,
sort of the size of this.
but I know that would be a real change for them, but maybe a more efficient use of everybody's resources instead of 20 or 30 people or however many traveling up to their space, sending the trainers out. And that's just a conversation to have with them if they would consider something like that. John, I don't know if this ever come up.
I think actually, as I told us when she came here, and also, at our meetings, that that large space there does get quite a bit of use, like for like regional trainings. Like
Yes,
it's a
yeah.
lot fuller than you might expect when you go in there.
Right. I'm just saying that there's other places they could do that training. It doesn't necessarily have to be on their site, which I understand would be a real change of thinking for them. But with every library in the region having training rooms and meeting rooms.
Yeah, I haven't seen
For
their full schedule myself.
Yeah. And I don't know how many days a year they use it even. So
We've had that conversation multiple times, including this morning. And they are not going to be able to say we can give up the space until after the facility study is done.
Right, right.
And we have to submit our grant application before their facility study is done.
Mhm.
So again, I think that could be something for future cooperation. This morning I proposed, and Marianne, we've had this discussion with them before, let's put in a wall halfway. That's a movable wall like this one is. When you need it, we'll open it up, you get first choice. But otherwise we could have meeting space there or more space there. And until their facility study is done, they're not going to make any decisions.
Right. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah. Down the
that would
road.
be
Yeah.
that would be a turn of direction a little bit. If for some reason we got lucky enough and they're like, yeah, we don't need this space or we can share it with you. Again, that would change architectural plans and engineering plans, et cetera. So good. I'm glad we're thinking about it at least.
Yeah, I totally agree with
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
it's just, I don't think they're unwilling, but they want certainty about their facility study before anything
Yeah.
happens.
Are there any other questions or things we wanted to know about the Charlotte Hall update?
That's been really helpful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
And
you very
thank
much.
you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming, Gary. All right, Michael, back to you.
Fiscal year 26 budget, unless people want a break already. Maybe I do. Things are actually looking pretty good. In a couple of spaces, we're at 60% on total salaries and services. We've got a little bit of increase in FICA here and there. Our substitutes, not surprisingly, are getting up there because we never have enough to cover the full year. But right now, things are, in terms of the overall budget, not looking too bad there. Looking okay on our OPEB and other expenses for health insurance. On page 2, Lexi Electric still at 69%, but that's actually down a little bit. And we're starting to catch up some there, and we should with any luck over winter. We still think it's going to go over the allocated amount for the year, but not by that much.
I have a question about utilities.
Yeah.
In a building that's shared like this, we have separate meters for the senior center and the library, or?
No, we have 1 meter and it's the same way up at Charlotte Hall, but we split on a square footage basis.
Okay.
Any cold issues at the other 2 branches during this? I saw some of a whole chart of the temperatures, and I was shaking my head.
Yes, to answer that question. Yes. And I will let the branch manager speak to that more authoritatively, but I can tell you that there's plenty of times when Lexington Park is brutally cold in the middle of summer. We don't have control over the temperature. It's all automated. So the county has talked with Smyrla, and Smyrla did a study, and they wanted to change some things, and somehow it just never quite happens. So yes, there are heating and cold issues. We had one here at Leonardtown, didn't we? Yeah, where it was, so we've got actual numbers in our policy and procedures manual. If it gets below 65, and these come from the federal government, you're supposed to close up. And we got to 65. It didn't go below that. So we've had some times here, but then the weather's been extreme.
Who is that county contact chasing down?
I
better
I can share the whole email chain with you if you like.
Perfect. Thank you.
I will make a note to do that. It was somebody from SMECO, and they did a study, and and they wanted to talk, and I don't think anything ever came of it. So I will find that email chain for you. So that's, not looking too bad. A number I'm concerned about, but I'm told is in order, is on page 3, the top, our circulation collection, that's the books and the DVDs at 49%, but we have a lot encumbered. A lot planned to be spent. The digital collection at 23%. The good news about those is that we can get them practically overnight. So we'll be looking to boost those up. That's our ebooks, digital audio books. Our accounting and audits at 88%, but that's front loaded, and we're not expecting much in the way of charges after this because the audit is done.
Michael,
Yeah.
that accounting includes the extra $10,000 from Bolton for that study we talked about on OPEB.
That came out of which line
Accounting.
item?
Accounting and audit.
Which
Accounting and
we will
audit.
be over
Okay.
budget that line because we did not plan for that.
That's where the bottom of the
Thank
page.
you.
Yeah, so that was 10,000 we weren't necessarily expecting, but I think it really gives you a really clear idea about that OPEB fund, that it was money well spent. Let's see here. Everything else. No, the one more thing. Memberships, that's 66%, but that's front loaded. We do a lot at the beginning of the year. So looking at the budget, I think we're looking pretty good at just about all the lines here. With any luck, not too many are going to go over. The total fund balance available on page 11 is $494,596. And we have monthly expenditures of $475,470. So we're right about at tolerance there with that 1 month of expenses. Any questions about the budget?
Yeah, on the expenses side, page 5, top of page 5. So how am I interpreting this? We got $50,000 from FOL, but we've spent almost 75,000. Am I reading that right?
No, 50,000 is what we budgeted.
Right.
So page 5 is just the expenses. If you want to see both of them, you should go to page 7. We have budgeted FOL donations of 50,000. We
Right.
collected to date 127,000 and spent 66,000.
Got it. And my other question is, where do we show the $3,500 summer intern? I saw the 20,000 from the board coming in. And then the 3,500 we do for the summer intern. Where do we show that as
It's
income?
it shows up in the salaries and we pull it out at the audit. The accountants pull it out at the audit as a grant, but it's input into the salaries. And actually we did create a new line. The accountant and I created a new line item for that, I believe, but it's not in there yet.
So just under the general admin salaries?
It's under each salary of the intern. So we have an intern at each of the branches. So
Okay, so
there's
you just
one in
add
admin, one in Lexi, one in
But
Hall.
this is Lexi, right?
We have-
3,500. So it's, you just put additional 3,500. Yeah,
Yeah, then
but
it's,
no, but it's income, it's coming in. So do you have an income line for that?
no. It'll show up in the audit in a specific category, but on this, it goes in, their salary goes in as a Lexi salary, and then there's an offset for it.
But you did show the $20,000 transfer. I think I saw that from the board.
Yes, it's on
That's
the,
kind of a new thing, right?
I had to add in a line for that, and it's going to be under the donation side, so
Yeah.
you can see it under page 10.
That's where it was, donation.
Yeah.
All right.
On page 6, under services and fine income, what is the loss and damage? What is it?
So we no longer have fines. But we do still charge if you lose or damage a book. So we don't charge for late fees, but if you lose a book, you have to pay for the book, or if you damage the book, you have to pay for the book. We do have the ability for people to return the book within 30 days of paying that and getting their money back. So sometimes you will see those on the EAL. It's a reimbursement for a lost item. And we also do price matching. So all they have to do is show us that they can find the actual same book new anywhere and what the price is, and we will price match it to whatever that is. And that's what they pay us. They don't buy it. We just price match what they pay.
Other questions about the budget? All right, well, moving right along to library highlights. You've got a whole sheet of them. I'll just pick out a couple of things on, let's see here. We'll start with digital literacy since you've asked me to give these in accordance with our strategic plan. So digital literacy is first. We hosted on January 27th international webinar on ethical AI in libraries, and I truly mean international. We had people from United Arab Emirates and Israel. And we had experts in this field, including people who have published books. And I'm your genial MC for Readers First, COSLA, which is all the state librarians in the country, and Lyrasis. We did give away 57 laptops, and so the county donated those laptops for us to give out in the community, and we have given them all away at this point. There's one in each of the meeting rooms, and we have 3 that our library staff are using, but most of them went out to the public through our partners. So, for example, the Veterans Home got some, the St. Mary's Caring got some, Cedar Lane got some. So it really is benefiting the people in the county, and we show them how to set them up. And so very proud about that. And next year, since it worked so well this year, if they have more to give away, we will work with them. We'll move on to embrace innovation. And so many of these things could be in one category or another, but I'd like to point out some of our Leonardtown programming. We're having an intro to 3D printing that had 14 participants. And we have cricket classes, which remain full with wait lists. Those are very popular. A lot of this will be community gathering. I'd like to look at the Lexington Park Library Gardening 101 on February 21st. That's a program where people can learn how to more effectively do it, but they're also going to have the opportunity to see the passive park and possibly volunteer or have a plot there. Amy, you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yes, we've had long-term collaboration with the Community Garden Project from the Community Development Corporation. And so we participate in the Gardening 101. Our staff member, Nicole, she also runs the Seeds program at Lexington Park Library. And so, so we're able to get folks information on gardening, welcome them to the library to be able to get more information, and they can come in for free seeds that then they can sow in their community plots and know how to take care of them. It's a really great program.
All right. Down under buildings and spaces, Charlotte Hall added new lowering and rising stands for the card catalog for the computers for ADA compliance. I know, Brittany, we're going to have you stop doing things there at Charlotte Hall. I want to get up there and take. Really, it was so easy getting money from Leonard County because of the old Armory building, and they really gave us more. Sure, it was the main electrical panel which had a water leak over it. And I took a picture of that, and all I put at the bottom was, what could go wrong? And they gave more money than we asked for. I want more opportunity to have that kind of terrible picture. And I'm told behind the scenes, it will work. 2 new shelving units here in Leonardtown, and they're working on reallocating their materials because they've outgrown our current shelves, and also because there's a lot more face out there, and face out really moves materials in libraries. People see the cover. The publisher's putting in literally millions of dollars a year to make that cover. Somebody want to snap it up. So there's that going on. Leonardtown also ordered some new makerspace equipment and materials, including some sewing machines, a Cricut machine, a serger. What is a serger?
Machine.
It's a type of sewing
Type
machine.
of sewing machine. Okay, but it shows you why I don't know anything about it. Several quilting materials and products. Lexington Park is working with Duron for the makerspace, and we did an RFP through the Maryland Emma system for that. and Duron came back. Not only a vendor we know and trust, but the cheapest by far. So those walls will be going up, and we're looking forward to a late spring opening for that maker space.
In time for summer.
Under outreach, this is more a community gathering. Partnering with the Maryland Mobile Food Bank for monthly stop in Ridge Volunteer Fire Department. On our first visit together, we had 31 visitors to the mobile library. So we were working on that. It's happening at Charlotte Hall already, but now it's down in Ridge as well. So we show up at the mobile library at the same time that mobile food market is there. And so food for the body and food for the soul.
The fire department has been hosting food trucks off and on. It looks like a better turnout there than down at Dollar General.
Yeah,
Old stuff.
much better. Yeah. I was told the Dollar General was the heart and soul of Ridge, but it turns out no. Under Young Minds, the Leonardtown Library Family Dance Party coming up on February 18th, and the Charlotte Hall STEM Fund, Blood, Bones, and Guts. Brittany, you want to tell us about Blood, Bones, and Guts?
Yes, so it is a STEM and it's a youth program. And it talks about like chemical reactions in your body. And I believe, don't quote me on this though, that the participant will be making like some sort of slime project that will emulate snot and talking about bodily functions in an appropriate elementary way. But it is a very popular program. So yeah.
Any questions? And we've got more going on even than we put on the sheet, but I think you get a good idea. There's lots happening at your St. Mary's County Library.
I know board members had asked about getting on the mailing list for the email list.
And I believe we
And
should be on there.
yes.
Do you want to be on
So
all
did
three?
that-
Just the adult or what?
Yeah, I went
Got one
ahead and
today.
signed.
Did anybody get one today?
Don't know.
Yeah, I've been getting them.
Yeah, I got one about crayons today.
About what?
Yeah.
Crayons.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Released today. I think it's the second one this week, I think.
Yeah, those go out fairly frequently,
Yes,
and
you
if you want all of them, you would have to sign up for the teen, the youth, and the adult services. But
I think I did.
it's kind of up to you. But
Perfect.
yes, you are.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. And Mary Ann, thank you for taking that very efficiently. I appreciate that. So a funny thing happened on the way to the fiscal year 27 budget, and you have a sheet. And this was a surprise for Belinda and I because we had never seen this sheet before, but we asked what's going on. So we submitted the budget and we got a note back about 3 or 4 days later saying, oh, you didn't take out the one-time amounts. And we said, what one-time amounts? And you see what one-time amounts. Apparently, some money we have this year in fiscal year 26, specifically $10,000 for printing, and that is actually not non-recurring, it is recurring. Ebooks and audiobooks, which are recurring, and increased utility costs, which they say are non-recurring. How can utility costs be non-recurring? Here's what happened. They took the money out of their fund balance. And when they take money out of their fund balance, it's always a one-time thing, but they didn't tell us that. So for fiscal year 27, we're looking at having $118,000 less. So they said, please get us a budget request back next Monday, and this was a Thursday, will quite do. So we just added $118,000 in those areas, and we're requesting it again. I don't know how else to have handled that. So obviously the whole budget process is beginning. We will very soon start to do our outreach for advocacy for the public budget hearing. Belinda, I know you want to say something. I'm going to yield the mic to you, please.
I was just waiting for if there was a question, but just to be clear, we didn't change any of our budget lines. It was simply a change to the request that increased the request for the amount of money that they took out.
So yeah, so we just said, okay, fine, you're gonna, you know, and I've already talked to the county administrator and the deputy county administrator about this, and they say, yeah, you know, you don't have it yet, but I don't think the plan is to take it away.
Oh,
So-
and also I wanted to point out that printing materials is just the county not quite understanding standing that when we say print materials, that means our books. We aren't
Our
actually
collection,
$10,000
yeah.
of printing. It's our books. We call it print materials and digital materials.
So that was not a fun little surprise, but we're going to do our best to recoup that. Yeah. I've already told you that we did submit a notice of intent for the state capital grant program for $3 million. And Judith, to just return to your question, that was my estimate, what it would take to do that front area as an addition. And the thing they said today is it probably wouldn't be that expensive, but let's go for what we can get. And it's considered bad form to ask for the whole amount. So yeah. As I've said on this committee 5 times, when somebody says the whole thing, we just roll our eyes and say, yeah, okay. There's 20 other systems are going to be asking for money. We've done that. You asked to get an update on the insurance coverage, and we got you one as of the end of January, and it looks like this. So you can see what our insurance premiums are and what you are insured for. We have general liability. We have professional liability. So if someone wants to sue you saying you've made a bad decision as a board, you're covered for $1 million.
What is that under?
That's professional liability.
Does that also-
Linda, let's have
First
Linda come in here
It's
too.
at the very top of the first page.
E&O,
Yeah, yeah. And then that's the premium, but the amount is $2 million, $1 million maximum per incident. You see that we've got automobile insurance, and you have a listing of everybody who's able to drive the vehicles. You have workers' compensation insurance and the workers' compensation classifications. And then on the back, you have just kind of more a summary general liability. These are kind of the whole things. So we have really not made much in the way of insurance claims. I think you're good, but if you have concerns, please let us know.
Thank you. We asked for that because it was in the bylaws that we would make sure we were adequately insured, and we realized we had not ever thought to check.
We do this every year, so if there had been any changes, we'd certainly let you know. Belinda, you want to say anything? Or okay, all right.
Does the county carry its separate insurance for the senior center part of the building?
Yes, they do. And just so you know, if somebody trips, and this has happened before, they don't get to sue the library, they sue the county because the county owns the buildings.
Right. We are covered for the items in the library. The building is covered by the county.
so is the $1 million of executive and officer liability insurance considered to be enough? And
I would think
historically,
so. We've never been sued, so
You don't,
yeah, we've had people threaten, but it's never happened. And I don't, I don't think it's going to, but I would say that it's more than enough. I don't think there's any way the library can hurt somebody $1 million worth. What are you going to read a book and say you were, your soul was damaged or something?
well,
I
the
think-
executive
Executive
officers
officers would be for the board.
Wait,
It is, yeah.
hold on, Bob. Go ahead.
Sorry, so I was expecting that the E&O insurance covered us.
It does.
And library stuff?
No, that's separate.
Oh, okay.
No, like the books and things are separate.
Right.
So we're
Okay.
neither executives nor officers. That's why I asked if it covered us.
I think you're
Is it
officers.
director liability?
No, you're officers. This covers you.
It specifically covers you. We
Thank you.
requested that coverage at the beginning. It's
Yeah.
because we have to have you covered. So it is covered, covering you.
Bob, you were going to say.
Oh, that was my question. I assume that's what it covered.
Yeah, you were covered as a
Yeah,
board.
I made the same assumption. The
Yeah.
question is $1 million enough? And
I think that would potentially be something to investigate, and we can come back and we can put it on the agenda for next month.
Just the question is, what could we do that would be worth $1 million?
Please don't do that, and
Well,
it will be enough.
Yeah.
I mean, do each of us
I mean,
have
it's
$1 million?
not a
coverage?
liability. We could be sued
Each of
for
us?
decision.
I don't
for
think
the-
they
for
can
the
sue you
board.
they can't sue you individually.
So it's for the
they can't
board
sue
to
you
call for all
individually.
7 of us, not in $100 million each.
No, they can't sue you individually. They'd have to sue the board. You're making decisions as a board.
I don't know. They could try.
So
Yeah,
Try to sue
but
them. Try suing
I think the lawyers would have a lot of fun laughing that one out of court. You're sort of as a board, you're not as an individual.
So the question is $1 million enough?
so that's something we can go and investigate,
Yeah.
read up, ask people.
And don't forget, if you increase it, we pay more.
Yes,
I
the
don't
money has to come from somewhere.
know how to investigate other than ask if out there on our listers if you're to all the different county libraries, have you ever been sued and what did it cost you? That'd be the only way I could think to do it. I mean, they're not going to just say, yeah, we got sued. I can tell you that Boston Public got sued some years back. And this is why adults are able to have filters removed. They said, no, we got filters you can as an adult change that. And it was argued this was a violation of the public's First Amendment rights, and Boston Public lost that lawsuit. So I know libraries can get sued, but I don't think that we do our best to make sure you're okay. And we will try to find out if anybody's been ever sued.
The fire damage says anyone fire $100,000. That doesn't, is that what it means? If we had a fire, the limit is $100,000?
That would be for like the books or
I
something.
mean, it doesn't seem like very much money. I mean,
Yeah.
$100,000 is one rack of books.
1 year's worth of collection.
I mean, it's not, that doesn't seem like a lot of money to cover our collections. You think that's, I'm just asking, that
I
doesn't
think
seem like
water
a lot.
damage would be more likely because the sprinkler system would come on, but yeah.
Well, then your stuff's ruined.
Yeah.
So it covers that too. Smoke
Doesn't sound
damage,
like-
water damage. Right? $100,000.
Doesn't sound like anywhere near enough.
I mean, your furniture, everything, the
And the building
computers,
be insured by the county. So you're
the
just
building,
talking
just
about
collect-
the
books.
contents, the furniture, the computers, the books. I mean, that doesn't,
Building burned down, it wouldn't be enough, but it's a small fire, it probably would be.
So we
don't
can
know.
talk to the broker and give them our, they do get our inventory from our audit, which gives them an amount of the books that we have, the cost of the books that we have, and have them evaluate it.
There is a great book in your library called Library Book is the title of it.
Yeah.
And it's about the fire of the Los
The
Angeles.
Los Angeles Library, yes.
Certainly costs more than $100,000 to fix.
that was my next question. Have you ever heard of a library fire?
Mm.
Yes.
Rare,
there
but
have
it does
been
happen.
library
There are
fires.
Electrical.
you know, so
Light
Book
and-
written about
know,
library fire.
just this year in Maryland, a library flooded out
Mm.
in the West. It was in a kind of a floodplain, and the floodplain happened. Obviously, when Katrina came through New Orleans, almost the entire library collections were lost. So there are plenty of worst case scenarios. So we can look at that, but as Belinda just said, I'm not saying let's not increase our coverage, just that there will be a cost.
Mhm.
Other questions about this, and we will look into whether or not a board's been sued or what it would cost to, if our total collection's $1 million, it's probably going to be substantially higher, but we'll just see. Speaking of,
But Michael,
Yeah.
the whole collection is for all 4 branches. So we would really just be, we would be doing a coverage for maybe the highest cost of one branch, because you're going to assume that only one branch is going to get a
Sure.
fire versus all 4 at once. which would include the mobile library.
I'm feeling like I need to knock on wood here. Library legislation, we don't have much on this year. The one that we care about most is SB 378, and it doesn't have a state, I'm sorry, it doesn't have a House number yet. That is over time to increase the funding for public libraries. Currently, it's scheduled to run through fiscal year 2027, and you see that we're at $9.90 per each resident for the area served. And we're long-term board members. You've seen this. It's based on 14 different classifications, but the main one's population. So it's slated to stay there unless we can have the legislation raise it. So what we're asking for fiscal year 28 is $10.29, so 30 cents more per resident. It's not like we're going to raise it that much. For fiscal year 29, 1060, for fiscal year 2030, 1092, and fiscal year 31, 1124, and thereafter 1158. And this has been going on for years. I mean, if you look at the older codes, it's been in place since at least 2008, a little bit raised each year. So we were in Annapolis this past Tuesday, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was talking to our delegate and our senator, and um, Delegate Todd Morgan, who's a fiscal hawk, he keeps his eye on that budget. He said it's not that bad this year. Don't expect any tax increases, but what we're looking at right now isn't so bad. So I'm hopeful that this piece of legislation will get passed. They've been very generous with libraries. You know, in the year we're in right now, a lot of entities got cuts, libraries got to keep their small increase. So I think, you know, I'm confident that this will go through. If it doesn't, we'll stay at a certain amount in upcoming years. It's not like they're planning on cutting at the state level. And for us, this is typically around 25,000 a year. It's not a lot of money, but it is always nice to have more. HB 660 is for the State Library Resource Center, also known as SLRC. SLRC is asking for a annual increase. Incidentally, the other one also covers regional, but for us, the main thing is us. So SLRC provides interlibrary loan service across the state. SLRC provides databases not only to public libraries, but to schools and colleges. They provide a lot of programming that's statewide. They provide a lot of training that is statewide. So we would hope that this will also get passed. It was up last year and it was like sort of a handshake deal. We don't do this year, it's so bad, but we'll get you next year. So I'm pretty confident about this one. Here's the one that was a bit of a surprise for us. It's the Maryland State Library budget. So this isn't final yet, but it was proposed in the governor's budget that any increase in our education pension costs, and we never see that money, but the state puts money into our employees' pensions, and our employees contribute to those. So the idea, and the schools apparently have long since been doing this, but for libraries for this year, any increase, not the whole amount, which for the would be millions of dollars for the libraries across the state, but for half of the expected increase, it will get picked up at the county level. We don't know the exact figure, but based on what we got from the state, with an estimate of 5.57 increase of the fiscal 20-year amount. For St. Mary's, our amount that came from the state is $569,150. So that would be an increase of $32,840, and half of it, $16,420, is going to be picked up at the county level. So of course I emailed the county executive and the office and the financial officer and said, you know about this, right? And they already knew about it. So I asked, is that going to come from the library? Are we going to bill directly for our share? Is the county going to be picking this up? Is it going to be given to us as part of our budget? How is this going to get handled? They don't know yet. Also, this is not final. So we won't know until the end of the legislative session if this is final. And even then, we're not going to know where that 16,420, if that's the exact amount, which it may not be, where that's going to come from. But we'll be keeping our eye on it for you.
Is the 16,000 the library's share or the county's share
That would be, well, actually, the 16,420 is the library
for
share.
the library?
But we don't know if the county's just going to pick it up,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to put words in their mouth. They simply said, we're not sure yet.
Okay.
So that would be the library share. Well, let's say that's the share for the library employees, all of us. The other one you had slated to talk about later, but I'm not sure you need to. It's about adding student board members. So they put that out to MAPLA, the Maryland Association of Public Library Administrators, and they got a raspberry back. You want to make this mandatory? You want to make this a voting member? We don't like that idea, was what they heard from many libraries. And I didn't say it's a bad idea, it's a good idea. I simply put forward your reservations. So it has been amended. So now what it says is may, meaning it's entirely up to you as a board. It also had language in there that those people were going to get appointed by the county, and that was a firm no from everybody, because it goes against how the trustees are appointed, where you get to have initial selection and then the county gets to weigh in. This was going to say, oh, the county's going to do this. And we said, we're not going to have that happen. And whether or not it's a voting member, if you even decide to have one, that's entirely up to you. So this is all optional. My suggestion to you is, why don't you just wait and see if it even passes? With what, 2,000 bills going up there, this one may not even get through. If it does, you can say, all right, now we need to decide come June, do we want to have a student member? And that's a decision that you would make.
There are several counties in Maryland that have student members, but I believe they're all non-voting. I think maybe like 3 counties I found so far.
Let's
Anne
come back to
Arundel
that under
has-
old trustee business.
Anne Arundel has
Just
one.
as a curiosity, they do exist. But
Anne Arundel has one that is voting.
Pardon me?
Anne Arundel has one that is voting, but they've got 24 board members.
That's a lot.
As delightful as I'm sure you all find each other's company, and I know that you want 17 more. That's set in state law. That's how they do it. So I don't know that you really need to talk about that one much later. But that's kind of where we are with the legislative update for the year. There was an ebook bill introduced, but it has been withdrawn because a number of my colleagues were concerned about it. I can give you a national update on that some other time when we've got more time. So we're on to action items. Do you want a break? Are you good?
I think, yes, let's take a break and let's put the domestic violence policy under the new trustee business.
Okay.
All right. Can I get a motion for a 5-minute break?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I need to get us back streaming again onto YouTube. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome back.
I have one more update for you, and John just showed me this in the County Times. So apparently on Tuesday at the CIP budget hearing in the afternoon when I was in Annapolis, they were making a decision about some parking here, and they talked about a dollar amount. And I have a meeting tomorrow with the county to get some details. Let's not take this to the bank, but here's my understanding is that on top of the hill, on the far outside of the parking lot, put in 60 spaces primarily dedicated to employees and also to the vehicles that are, those white vehicles out there that are used by the senior center for delivery, freeing up parking here. Now, another thing that's going to be done is that the handicap area is going to get restriped. The farthest ones away are going to get taken out and made in regular places. The ones right across from the nearest handicap places are going to be made into handicap parking. And there will be 4 that will be dedicated to people who have strollers, because that was our concern here, is somebody with a stroller or carrying somebody in a, in a car seat, a baby carrier. The garden is not going to be taken over. So that's kind of my understanding based on conversations up to this point. But after the meeting tomorrow, I will share more full details with what I've learned with you. But apparently they've set aside money to try to increase the size of the parking lot. And we will just see where that goes. And that's news for the people here in Leonardtown as well. I was going to hear about it tomorrow, but I guess at least we know the dollar amount they're planning on putting into capital improvements for it. And that's in the County Times. So thank you. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So we are reviewing the EALs before I will entertain a motion to take the EALs. I'm wondering if we have any questions.
The credit card statement.
Yes, it's in here. Or are you talking about, is it on the ledger?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I have a question on the credit card statement. About 5th down from the top, credit card fraud. Is that a refund?
So my credit card periodically gets hacked. Don't know how, because it's always in my possession. But we do check that periodically. So it was hacked by somebody who spent money at a security website on something.
Okay.
So as you can see at the bottom, PNC credited it back. And we just, as soon as we find it, we report it. And then we close that card, get a new one. I will say that we had another one hacked this month, not mine this time, but did she have a charge on it? I don't think that she got a charge. It wasn't hacked. It was notified that it was compromised, possibly on a website. So we closed that one and also resubmitted.
Belinda, did they catch that or did you?
I did.
Okay.
Actually, Shelby did first.
Good for you, Shelby. Nice. I think the only comment I had that I wanted to see if there was any action we should take on. I was a bit surprised that Bolton cost $10,000 and a little horrified that we had to take that out of the budget somewhere else.
Well,
So-
they gave us that cost figure up front.
Did we know that as a board?
No, I think that I arranged for that. But it seemed like that's what they were going to charge. And I just thought that this is what everybody really needs to hear. So I do think it's money well spent. Yes, it was more than I was anticipating.
Is that just for the report that they gave us?
It was for the report that you got.
My word.
Good annual requirement?
No, it wasn't a requirement at all. We were discussing what to do about the OPEB funding, and Michael reached out to Bolton to write a report about it.
Because they're the firm that annually does review the fund for us. It's a requirement. So I don't. The auditors, we typically change about every 3 years because we follow the county. I don't know if we've
No,
ever
we
changed
go with
Bolton
through the
or,
county hires
but with
because,
Bolton, have we ever changed them?
They are also with the county.
and
and-
they're also with the state, basically. They seem to have quite a reach.
And Sharon, I just want to say, yeah, it's $10,000. I worked that budget and I don't love it, but considering that we have been discussing OPEB for the past 4 years, I feel like this was worth the money for you to understand where you were at with OPEB, what you can do with OPEB, and how we can move forward with OPEB.
And so the decision, if I'm remembering rightly, is that come May, when we're looking at the budget for the library and we kind of know what we're going to have, you'll determine each year what you want, if anything, to take out of the OPEB fund.
So do we have a further commitment with Bolton at all?
No, they will be doing our review each year, but not to look at anything else related to the fund. They'll just give us their analysis of it on based on GASB.
They audit OPEB every year for the audit. And it's $10,000 for that every year.
So who, do we need them?
Yes,
are
we're
the
required to
auditors.
have them, in fact.
That's a legal requirement.
Remote.
Don't mess with the auditors.
Yeah, absolutely. The other question that I had, Michael, this is more a procedural question that I just never got as part of my history. Why do we vote on the EALs?
This is your fiscal oversight of the library. You are basically you provide citizen oversight of the library and its funding. So, since we've already spent it, it might be a bit late, but you do get to look at this and say, okay, we approve these as expenses.
And Sharon, this is literally every expense that we paid in January. So each month you're looking at every single expense that the library paid out. So that is why you see it, because this all goes into the budget that you're looking at, but you can see line by line what we paid and how much we paid. So it's also looking for any anomalies that you feel you would want to question.
So then the vote is more a confirmation that we did not find any anomalies and
Yes.
okay, thank you.
And if you have concerns, then obviously those would be things that you would raise for the future. Why did we spend that? Do we need to spend that again, as you just did? And so that's kind of the purpose of it, yeah. But it's your oversight, your fiscal oversight of the library.
All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the EALs.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. All right, up next, old trusty business, 300 years of Black cooking copyright. So we got the email about that and the options there. And while we heard from the group that came to speak to us about receiving the copyright, that they had some challenges or some concerns about grant money based on who owned the copyright. We also had some legal advice that was probably not an issue, that we could write an allowance that would let them receive grant money, publish the book, but we would still hold the copyright. That's what I understood. If there's any, I'll open it for discussion if anyone has anything else they saw or needed to share.
So it seems to me there are three choices. One is we can do what they ask, which is to give them the rights to the book. The second is we can do what the advisor that Michael found for us suggests most people do, which is to give them a limited license to do with it whatever they want, but it's a non-exclusive license. And the third is to say no. Are those the three choices? Okay. So then the question is, which of those do we want to do? Are we going to decide?
Do we need any additional information?
Yeah, I think we need to ask them to go back to the grantor, as this gentleman, Kyle, says,
Yes.
are they misunderstanding or using maybe the incorrect language when they said they have to own the copyright. Is there any wiggle room? We need to go back and actually see maybe the language in that grant, or have a conversation with Greg and Lucille, conversation with the grantor. Would the grantor do the limited license, or is that a possibility? Because that's kind of workable, I think.
Is there any situation where we want to give up the license completely? I don't think that should be even on the table. In which case you go back to them and say, the only way you're going to get a license is a limited, non-exclusive license. Deal with it.
Well, remember how we got the copyright.
Yes.
The UCAC gave away the copyright to the library. There's history of that. They trusted the library and they gave the copyright to us with no strings attached.
Yes,
it's
but
been
there
done.
was.
Now, I'm not saying it's the group that put the book together. No, I didn't bring with me this time.
Yeah, I mean, that's
they did
fine.
do it. So there is a history of that being done with this cookbook.
But they did it with the idea we were going
I'm
to
not saying
protect
I'm advocating for it, but it's what I say.
I mean, that's an individual giving away the copyright to an institution that's going to protect it.
Well, the Southern Maryland National Heritage is an institution.
They are a .com. They are not a commercial institute. They are not a government entity.
No, they're not a government. I say they're an institution. So
they're not a government or a nonprofit either.
Yeah,
They're a .com. I'm very concerned about this organization's staying power.
Yeah.
Also, it's very complicated. Depending on who this grant comes from, they may be correct. Their grantor will only give them that. But if their grantor is the federal government, that's not the case. But this would also give the federal government the right to print the book and to sell the book.
Yeah.
I recommend we just tell them no. The foundation has said it is willing to pay to print this book again. We can sell it at cost. We'll never be out money. If there's a demand for it, we are protecting this book. And it was given to us to protect. I've talked with our staff about this. We're really very concerned about giving away the rights to something that we think, if anything, we'd be willing to give them back to the UCAC and not to any other entity who is not necessarily going to be guaranteed to be ever. And if we did give them the rights, which I think is a non-starter, Bob, I think you're absolutely right, then they could do with whatever they want. Even with a limited thing, they could charge $50 for this. I mean, I don't think that we can in any kind of contract say we're giving you the rights to publish it. I don't think that we can say under all these circumstances. If we do, it's going to be so complicated. I wouldn't be wanting to write that contract because I think it's going to be expensive. Now, Kyle said he's willing to give us sample language, but that's not to say he's going to write this contract for us.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, so you said the foundation is willing to print it. So then that kind of settles, to me, that kind of settles it anyway, because that's what the issue was to get it printed, correct? From time to time?
I understood that they were looking to do upgrades, maybe another edition. I thought I remembered something about a movie. Like, so there was like a film, potentially film rights involved.
I think you
Yeah,
said that.
yeah. Marianne?
I'm sorry.
Like Michael said, the admin team had a discussion about this, and we are really opposed to giving this copyright away for the reason that you just stated, that they want to change it. And at one point, they even said, we will make this more and include like other groups of people. And the intent of this is to be a Black cooking book. And so we really feel strongly that it should stay with the library. We can reprint it. We can go after this grant that they are going after and have it reprinted, because we could do that, or the foundation could do that. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that like all of the management team of the library was very opposed to this group taking on the copyright.
Thank you.
Could I just understand what the harm is in giving them a non-exclusive license?
It would give them the opportunity to print it, sell it, as
Yes.
Michael said, raise the
Wouldn't
price.
that be a good thing?
Not if it's detrimental to,
Is this a moneymaker for
mean,
them?
it's
I think
like-
this is a moneymaker
It's
for
getting,
them.
it's getting it out, it's getting the cookbook out there, which is what I like about their approach is we're gonna get the cookbook out there.
And
and
they
let
can
the
get the
public see it.
they can get the
Um,
cookbook out there. Just say to contact St. Mary's County Library.
I would say, yeah, I'm not opposed to if they would print it and we put the stipulation in that you don't change it. And you can print up so many copies and
So
sell them.
it
But,
is,
but I also thought, yeah, what if we were the grantee recipient?
yes.
What if our name was on the grant? Can you have two grantee recipients? I don't know. And then, but then we give the book to them and ask them to distribute. If you have events or the museum gift shops,
Well,
we got 1,000 copies printed. Okay. Heritage area, could you distribute them for us? Could we work in partnership with them some way
well, and
to
in,
get the
and,
book out there?
and in
Hold
fact,
on,
we'd
Belinda-
sell it. We sell it
Belinda's-
through the museum. And we got a share of the proceeds. I'm concerned about the dollar amount. We could print and resell to them, and that's what Calvert Library does with a book that they own the copyright of. They print it, somebody comes along, they buy it. Now they're going to charge more to resell it, and I frankly think that that's not something I'd want to see happen with this book. I think it should be fairly priced.
I'm really going to restate what Michael said. And one is that they can really increase the price of this book.
We could
Really increase
stipulate in
it,
the
which makes
contract.
it not accessible to other people that we would like it to be accessible for. Two is that when we can reprint and we can sell, we sell at the library. We also have had them at the museums before, and we have MOUs with them about it, where we get a portion of the profit and back into ours. And also, in addition, we sorry, my brain.
Sorry. I mean, if they price it too high, it's not going to sell at all. So that doesn't make sense. If they want to get the cookbook out there, they have to make it a price it's going to sell, right?
Well,
So but the other thing, remember, they are Calvert, St. Mary's, Charles, and Southern PG County. They have outreach in all those places, not just St. Mary's County. And there's a lot of museums and museum shops that they coordinate with and events that they go to that we don't.
So let me just say that the third thing is getting it out there. An article was done about this book, which is what got it out there, which is why these people are coming to us. We get calls still to this day asking us to figure out how they can get the book. We get calls from all over because it's on the internet. It was a national newspaper article.
It was in Southern Living magazine.
It was in Southern Living. So it's not that information isn't out there and that book isn't out there. That's why we would love to have it reprinted, because we're out when they call us. But it also is free, so we just direct them to the digital version.
All right, so I can tell you that there is a fiscal demand for this book. We had somebody use Facebook to gather used copies that they were selling for $30 a piece. I think that there would be fiscal demand for this book, but I think that the library is honor bound to sell it at cost or slightly more.
Well, that's what it was. $27.50. Right?
No,
That is-
no,
that is the
we're
cost.
paying $17.50. This person was getting $30.
No, I mean, I just bought one from you and it was $27.50.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. I mean, maybe it was a small batch.
It was a small batch. If we,
Do a
the
bigger
more you print, the cheaper it is.
I thought it was only
And to be clear,
$17.50.
the ones
My
that were
mistake.
selling for $30 were books that we were selling for $5.
I understand that. I understand that. I
And-
just think I mean, is
and-
there a way we can partner with them possibly to get
Yes,
the books printed, so own it, and then ask them for help distribution? I don't
Yeah,
know.
we can own the copyright, we can print it, and they can buy it from us. I mean, easy enough.
That sounds like a great idea.
So do we need any?
Have the foundation print it. We have copies of it. They can buy it from us, and if they want to distribute it, have them by all means distribute it.
Mhm.
And when
But-
they want more, give us a call and we'll print some more.
But that also gives us the ability to, I mean, we're never going to lose money on it, but it also gives us the ability when people do call us still, all right, here you go. Or the friends can sell it at their book sales too.
So it seems like this may have transferred to a different conversation about printing running another print, I want to bring us back to giving up the copyright. I liked, Chuck, how you laid out the three options. Do we need any additional information to decide on giving the copyright to the Southern Maryland Heritage Foundation?
I was with Bob, which is,
I would
away.
move that we vote no on the copyright and let them come back and, say that, we can offer to partner with them and print the book.
Or they partner with the Friends. Maybe their partnership should be with the Friends.
Okay, so I have a motion to vote no and a second.
Second.
Okay. This is weird. We are voting no, so you would say aye to vote no. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, perfect. So do we want to continue this discussion about reprinting next month? I think that's probably going to be the best in order to stick with our agenda. Let's plan to talk about reprinting this book next month in addition and continued partnership with the Heritage Foundation.
I will say that a grant period is coming up from the state with IMLS money. So and we'll have time if you discuss this next month, there will be at least one grant that we could ask to get that would cover that cost. Although the foundation just got a very lovely donation. And I cannot tell you who it is because it's always given with the stipulation that we never say thank you, but it was totally $7,750. So and the foundation has 30,000 sitting in CDs. So there's money there to reprint a lot of this book if you want to.
So Michael, for next month, can we get on the agenda for new trustee business to talk about reprinting? And can you bring some options on how to fund that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Should he in the meantime contact the Heritage area, Lucille Walker, and let them know
I will do that.
our vote was no, but
Yes.
we are looking at ways to work with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Perfect.
I think they'd be polite, not leave it 2 months without any word.
Absolutely.
I guess we can get an idea of how many copies that would be reasonable to print.
I thought with 100 to start with, but I
Let's
also
just-
priced 500. So and that was our original printing of them. So actually, could you ask Laura to find out what it would cost to print 100 and cost 500? Because I thought that it was only 1750, and apparently that was inaccurate. So if we could get printing costs for that, I'd appreciate it, and that way we'll go forward with full knowledge.
Perfect. Thank you. So next under old trustee business, I have the student board member, which we know is no longer potentially legally required. Did we want to discuss the addition of a student board member or move it down the road since it's no longer potential legal requirement?
I move that we drop the subject and pick it up if we find out that the state wants us to do this or offers us this, that we reconsider it at that time. But I'm not, I would move that we decide not to do this now.
Table a motion.
I
think
agree
that's
with
what I
that.
said.
Just table and see what
Table
happens
the
then
issue,
after.
we'll
Table
take
it.
later.
Do you want to bring it up? Do you want it on next month's agenda or do you want to just wait? Chuck was saying wait until the state makes a decision.
Say wait till this.
I would wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
The session ends like early April, right?
Well, the governor has to sign things, so you're probably looking at middle of May before you'll know for sure. And as I say, with 2,000 bills going up there, who's to say that this one won't get lost? I mean, it's not something Maryland libraries are opposing now that it's been modified, but we're really out there pressing for the money.
All right. So I have a motion on the table to table the student board member issue until further notice, until we have changes from the state.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
I am going to abstain. New trustee business. Signing resolution from earlier, Judith.
Okay, this is the Anthem resolution we've been chasing. So about transferring combining the Vanguard funds and establishing the student intern fund that's going to give it more permanence and stability. But Sharon and I were looking at it, and I think I could clarify some of the language in the last paragraph about when the board has to annually review the fund and determine the direction of the fund and the summer intern funding also. So I'd like to table this until March and clarify some of the language in here, and then bring it back next month if that's all right with you all.
Would it be possible to get a copy before the meeting in March so we'd be ready to vote on it at the
Yeah,
meeting?
absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to send it out email, and that way if you have questions or it's not clear, Becca, let me know.
Okay, so I would entertain a formal motion to table the signing of the resolution until next month. Did I get an official, or did you move to table it?
I will move to table it until next month.
Perfect. All in favor? Aye. Okay, next up, review and revision of Library Board of Trustee bylaws. This was my item. I put it at the end. Yep, we're coming to it. We noticed as we were working on our board retreat that the bylaws have not been updated since 2017, and that they included a date and time for meeting that was no longer accurate. So we would like to move forward. What we would like to discuss is how to move forward with revising those, potentially with adding some of these policies that we've created that are board policies to the end of those bylaws as addendums, which would allow us to track some of the learning we've done in terms of the procedures for new board members and the choices about OPEB, and keep those all in one place. Discussion. I guess that we'd be looking for conversation about anything that needed to be added, and then who would take the role of kind of the lead role in revising those.
I'd be happy to volunteer to do the revisions.
Okay.
I think a first step might be just to send in changes and things. I mean, I've marked it up for last year or two. I think a lot of it needs to be changed. So
Would
not in the
you,
meeting time, but we've got terms in here and things that conflict with the law. I think we could flesh out duties a little bit better. I'm just a lot of ideas I've been just jotting down. I think we could maybe just kind of round robin.
would you like
ideas.
us to post this as a Google document so that everybody could comment on one draft?
I mean, that's up to you. Yeah.
And if that's the case, we'll certainly arrange to do that. I do this with all of the, a lot of the stuff I do outside of the state. We have one draft and we can all, as opposed to trying to share everybody's comments around on separate things, it really does sort of streamline the work. So we'll arrange for that tomorrow for you.
Perfect. Thank you. And so then when we come back in March and we want to put this on as old trustee business in March, we'll be looking at those comments, adjudicating those comments, and in making sure the public is aware of what the changes that we've made and things that we think about, so that it's open. Okay. And the last thing is the domestic violence policy.
So this came about because we've had several instances recently where a staff member was involved with this. But we would like to have this as part of the official library policy.
Can I ask, is this part of the employee handbook policy or is part of the public policy?
Employee handbook,
Okay.
personnel manual.
I had Just a question, and maybe I misunderstood it.
Yes.
And I wonder if it makes more sense that the person only be required to contact HR. They may not want their supervisor to know about it.
Well, the trouble is protecting the branch, and the branch manager ultimately should know. I mean, if this is going to be a situation at that location, I think that's why it's there.
I think
So this situation, and this happens and has happened multiple times. It covers an employee who has a domestic order against someone. That domestic order says generally that they cannot be within certain amount of space of that employee, which means that we have to know if that person walks into the library. Just telling me at HR won't do any good because I'm not on the floor. So they tell me they can come to me first, but it will go to the manager. So we need to know, they'll need to know, which is why we say, and their manager. They can go to either one, just one person, but we're going to loop in the other. And then we sit down and talk to the person. We talk about what their confidentiality is, how much we're going to share with other people. But remember, other people will need to know and be able to watch for that person also.
so. To be clear, what I'm trying to do is make this as easy as possible on the employee.
Yep.
And so if the employee requirement is to go to HR, then HR can then say, here's what's going to happen if you do this. And we could have this be part of the policy.
So,
but it should be the information, it seems to me, to the supervisor should come from HR.
Belinda,
I'm not,
As a branch manager, I can say that staff would more than likely be able to communicate and get access to us quicker than Belinda, because she's very busy. And like Belinda said, like we see our staff every day. And especially, for example, with me being at Charlotte Hall, being 20, 30 minutes away from here, we can act faster to start trying to figure out, okay, how best can we protect this employee, all while communicating with Belinda on, we have this situation going on, but this is already in motion to help that employee as fast as we can.
so just to be clear, they can contact both of us at once if all they're doing is sending an email or a message. But all they have to do is go to one of us, and every single one of the managers know that the moment they are contacted, they're going to let me know instantaneously. So the same happens on my end. The moment I know, I talk to the person and say, this is the first thing I'm going to do, and the manager knows. So, and the manager is going to tell that employee that the first thing they're going to do is contact me. So we talk to our staff. I mean, it's not like a void that they're going into when this. So for us, we want them to know that it's both or either, because some people are more comfortable talking to the manager and some people are more comfortable talking to HR.
Sure.
But it actually says, so there's two times. One is when they personally request a peace order. It says notify the library director
and
human
or
resource. So
human resources
why would it be the
coordinator.
library director? Wouldn't that be better to say their supervisor or HR there? Because whoever that supervisor is. And then doesn't that make more sense? And then below it says if they're aware of another threat to somebody else, to go to a supervisor or HR. So
Yeah, I see. Or
you're not saying they have to come tell Michael. That's what you're saying. On the first instance, is that what we want?
Where is the first instance?
Paragraph 3.
If they
So-
file a domestic violence
If it-
related civil order,
If they file they have to notify the library director and or HR.
So
Change
that's
that
for
to-
a civil or order specifically. Michael has to know about that because,
Oh, but letting
legal.
your supervisor or HR know, obviously they're going to. Like you
right,
said, you all
yeah,
talk to each
we
other.
always
Just
no,
the comfort level and the accessibility.
we can change
would
that
be-
to
So
supervisor.
so the suggestion is to change that to supervisor or HR, and then I'll get notified, which I would in any case, and that's fine.
And the paragraph below that is talking about if they witness something
Mhm.
or received or have been told. So that's the same thing, a supervisor or HR. So then we're kind of
So,
in parallel there.
so I guess what I was really recommending
Yeah.
is maybe just clarify that language to reflect what you all have said.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure that it says that.
Either or.
It's just pointing it out.
Either one is fine.
So I would note it's actually 3 times. The second paragraph says employees may disclose concerns to their supervisor, human resources coordinator, or other administrator. And I like that phrasing. And if you mirror that phrasing in all 3 places, if they have a domestic violence order, they can talk to one of those 3 groups. If they witness something, they can talk to one of those 3 groups. I think that would potentially tie it all together.
I like that
Provide
because
for-
of the immediacy.
Mhm.
You know, so let's say one of those rare days Belinda's not here because she practically lives here, or Marianne's not here, or supervisor's not there. Um, uh, and so you know, another administrator becomes the default. But I like that.
Just make the edit and we can vote on it.
Um,
Oh, okay.
um,
Yeah, if we can
so-
see it.
So paragraph 3. I don't think that's the right language. So you don't file to get a peace order, or civil order. You go to the judge and
you
you
do.
request one. Right? And the judge has to
She's
give it,
the
the judge
expert.
issues it, right? Is that right?
Usually you will go to actually to the jail so that you can get the paperwork started, and then yes, you would go to the court.
So we're not talking about filing the paperwork. We're talking about the judge issuing it, because you could file a paperwork and the judge could deny it. So
Yeah,
we're saying-
usually when you file the paperwork, it becomes immediately in effect, and then the judge, I think, can
It has to be.
dismiss it. But
So would you be satisfied if it said obtains rather than files?
Yeah, we want it to be,
Okay.
it's actually been issued.
Way
Right,
it works
so
is you
I-
go in and apply to the judge and they give you a 1 week temporary.
Yes,
And then you have to
Yeah.
go back again.
there might be other kinds, but I know
Yeah.
the 1 week one is a little more common. It can happen right away.
Amy,
Happens right the same day.
Do I have this
Depends on
right?
which county you're in.
The request is when they go into the judge. Then it's filed once the judge says yes. So we don't need to know if it's a request until it's actually given. But
Right.
so we can
So-
change the language, but it is the file. Once it's filed, it is on file with the judges,
So
whether it's
so
temporary or not.
A
It's a
domestic
file.
violence order has been filed,
Mhm.
it's been issued.
Well, no, it's if the employee files, because that, but Belinda's saying is that is the legal language
Yeah,
for
there,
it has been issued.
yeah, so it's really starting before it's necessarily even granted. I'm going to do this. I think it's notifying us in a timely fashion that trouble could occur.
Are you asking for a copy of it? Okay, that's fine. The notify was also provide a copy, I think, because you have
Yeah.
to actually see it. Says, it says and notify the director and human resources. And
I
actually,
mean, that's a procedural thing. This is
Yeah,
the policy.
you're just saying, right, just, you're not, take somebody's word for it, but you actually see the paperwork, right?
Yes.
And then the last one's the 4th paragraph. I think we should add words like at the library, because you're saying all employees responsible for notifying their appropriate supervisor or human resources of any threats they've witnessed, received, or been told at the library or at the workplace. We're not talking about anywhere, right?
What if they were at the person's home and witnessed it,
I don't,
but
you
they're
can't,
both library employees?
you can't make them
Have
do
a
that.
responsibility to alert the library?
But the library can't make that policy, that in your personal life, if you see something, you have to report it. There are state reporters that under law have to report things like teachers.
Librarians are mandatory reporters, are they
For
not?
Children.
For children, that
For
is true.
children. So
Oh,
I
not-
think you
not
said
even-
it, on a library, or at the workplace or something like that. So we know it's not anywhere. Okay. Okay.
No. not the first paragraph.
Can you, and,
Oh,
can you?
Yeah, she's working on it. There we go.
perfect.
That's good, thank you.
No, that's correct. Did you want to leave that with the or other administrator?
It won't just make it consistent.
Yeah. Supervisor. Yeah. I think Dorothy in the next paragraph was saying that you have supervisor, human resources coordinator, and you want administrator there as well. When you mean have been told that another person there, I think you mean another library employee that another person has witnessed or received at their workplace. They might not be the person, they might not be the person the employee reaches out to. When it says the library with the capital letters, you can think of that as all of the administrators talking to each other about what happened. But the employee's responsibility is to reach out to one of these three people. Change person to employee. Yeah, sorry. Scope it down so it's not every human in the world.
Well, so read that paragraph again. The all employees are responsible.
Yeah, I'll
Employees
report
responsible for notifying the appropriate supervisor
and
or
or
human resource and or other administrator of any threats which they have witnessed, received, or have been told that another employee's witnessed. Okay, so I think we're contradicting ourselves here. You're saying an employee has witnessed threat or violence, they have to report it, not tell another employee. So why do we have that last part on there? Yeah, and then you say, okay, we have to find a supervisor. You would say, you need to go tell, because now it's become third hand, right?
Yeah.
Say, you need to go tell the supervisor, I'll walk with you, but I can't tell that story. They weren't a witness to it. Right?
Right, but they can still come and tell us that person, and then I'm going to go to the person and talk to them.
it's kind of a double check just to make
Okay.
sure that it doesn't get lost. All right.
Good addition.
Is there, I think these are great additions. Yes. Is there any other additional concerns or can I entertain a motion to adopt this policy?
Make a motion that we adopt the policy as amended on the screen.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We try not to bring policies just because it's just happened, but this has now been several times, unfortunately, and we feel like we really have to have this in place. So thank you so much for approving it.
All right. So that is the end of our agenda. I'm We often have any additional business on the end. Does anyone need to add anything to next month's agenda that we haven't already discussed?
I wonder if we could move the 3 o'clock meeting to 3:15. I'm coming from St. Mary's College and getting out of there, I teach. Getting out of there in time to make a 3 o'clock meeting here is not a problem. Lexington Park is not a problem.
Charlotte Hall could be an
Charlotte Hall-
issue.
We'll deal with that when we come to
We
it.
could move it to 3:15.
Was- Next month, Charlotte Hall.
Supposedly, it's on my calendar, I had something else, but I need to go back and look at the list.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Madam
All right.
President.
So
Do you like that just for the Charlotte Hall location or all?
I mean, it's only for me and it's only for the spring. But getting to Charlotte Hall for me at 3 o'clock is going to be a problem.
All right, so my question is it okay to leave it at 3 at Leonardtown or Lexington
Sure.
Park? You just want it at 3:15 only for Charlotte Hall. Okay, we'll make it 3:15 for next month.
Actually.
awesome.
I was actually just asking for next time.
Yep, for sure. At Charlotte Hall. That makes sense. Anything else we want to make sure that's on the next? So email if you have anything additional. I will entertain a motion to close the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks
But
everybody
anyone
for
wants to
joining
vote
us.
against? It remains for me to thank all of you for your dedication to the library and all you're doing. Thank you so very much.